Hello and welcome to the English Listen Lab. Today, we uncover a chilling yet hilarious mystery, one that will make you question everything you know about yourself. Meet Oliver, a perfectly ordinary kid who loved video games, hated homework, and had zero interest in history. Until one day, while rummaging through his family's old storage room, he found a very old photograph. A photograph taken 100 years ago. And in it, a boy who looked exactly like him. What started as a simple curiosity turned into a mind-bending, time-warping journey to uncover the truth about his past. Was it a coincidence? A trick of the light? Or was there something far stranger going on? Let's dive into the story of the boy in the photo. The Boy in the Photo, a century-old mystery. Chapter 1. A boring afternoon turns into a nightmare. Oliver never expected anything interesting to happen that day. He was just looking for an old board game in the dusty, forgotten corners of his family's storage room. Instead, he found a box labeled "Do Not Open," which, of course, made him want to open it immediately. Inside, old letters, yellowed papers, and stacks of ancient photographs. As he flipped through them, he laughed at the weird hairstyles, old-fashioned clothes, and serious expressions. Did no one smile in the past? And then, he saw it. A photograph dated 1924. A group of children standing outside an old schoolhouse. But right in the center, a boy who looked just like him. Same face, same ears, same everything. Oliver's stomach dropped. This has to be a prank, right? Chapter 2. The family secret begins to unravel. Freaked out but intrigued, Oliver ran downstairs waving the photo. "Mom! Dad! Who is this?" His parents squinted at it, confused. That's strange. He does look like you." "Yeah, because it is me." His mom shrugged. "Probably just an ancestor. People say we all have historical lookalikes." Oliver wasn't convinced. "But this kid isn't just similar. He's identical to me." His dad chuckled. "Well, unless you're secretly 110 years old, I think we're fine." But Oliver had a feeling, that deep, unsettling something is very wrong kind of feeling. And he had to know the truth. Chapter 3. The Name That Shouldn't Exist. Determined to dig deeper, Oliver searched the back of the photo for clues. And there it was. Faded, but still visible. Edward H. Lancaster, 1924. "Edward Lancaster," Oliver muttered. "Who the heck is that?" A quick internet search led him to an old newspaper archive. And there, in an article from 1925, was a name that sent chills down his spine. Edward H. Lancaster, missing without a trace. Oliver's hands shook. His exact double had disappeared 1 year after this photo was taken. But that wasn't even the strangest part. The article described Edward as an unusual boy, often speaking of events yet to happen. Goosebumps spread down Oliver's arms. Had he just discovered a time-traveling version of himself? Chapter 4. Clues from the Past. His heart racing, Oliver searched for more records. But there was nothing. No birth certificate, no family history, no trace of Edward H. Lancaster before that school photo. As if he had just appeared. Oliver's mind spun. Was he a clone? A reincarnation? A glitch in reality? Then he remembered. His grandmother, the oldest member of the family, had once mentioned a strange story about their family's past. Oliver sprinted to her house. "Grandma, what do you know about Edward Lancaster?" She froze. Her face paled, and then, in a whisper, she said, "You've found him, haven't you?" Chapter 5. The Truth That Changes Everything. Oliver's heart pounded. "What do you mean? Who is he?" His grandmother sighed, sat him down, and told him the story. A long time ago, in this very town, there was a boy named Edward. He was different. He used words nobody understood. Talked about machines that didn't exist yet. People thought he was just imaginative, but then... She hesitated. One day, he vanished. No one saw him leave. No body was found. Just gone. Oliver felt a shiver run down his spine. But why does he look exactly like me? His grandmother hesitated again. Then she said the last thing he ever expected. Because, Oliver, I think Edward was you. Silence. Oliver's mind reeled, but before he could ask another question, the lights flickered. A sudden gust of wind blew through the house, and in the hallway mirror, for a split second, he saw Edward staring back at him. Chapter 6. The Reflection That Shouldn't Exist. Oliver leapt back, his breath caught in his throat. The mirror was just a mirror, right? But for that brief second he, or rather Edward, had been looking right at him. Same face, same confused expression. But the eyes? The eyes were different, as if they knew something Oliver didn't. Shaking, Oliver turned to his grandmother. "Did you see that?" She nodded slowly. "It's happening again." Oliver swallowed hard. What's happening again? His grandmother took a deep breath. The cycle. The moment you found that photo, the past started pulling you back in. Oliver shuddered. What do you mean, pulling me back in? His grandmother hesitated, then whispered, You might not belong here. Determined to find answers, Oliver tore through the old family storage room again. If he was somehow connected to Edward, there had to be proof. And then, he found it. A stack of letters, hidden under a false bottom in the old box, all addressed to Edward H. Lancaster. The first letter sent a chill down his spine. Edward, if you are reading this, it means you are running out of time. Oliver's pulse pounded as he scanned the rest of the letter. It described strange shifts in time, moments of déjà vu and warnings to never look into mirrors for too long. Flipping to the last letter, his hands trembled. The day will come when the past calls you back. You must decide, stay or return. Oliver barely had time to process it when... Crack! The mirror in the hallway split down the center, and from the other side, someone was watching him. Chapter 8. The Choice That Wasn't His. Oliver backed away as a cold whisper filled the air. It's time. The figure in the mirror stepped forward. It was Edward. No doubt about it. Oliver's heart pounded. What do you want from me? Edward tilted his head. Not what I want. What you need to remember. The room spun. Oliver's mind filled with flashes of things he shouldn't remember. Places he'd never been, people he'd never met, a life that wasn't his, or was it? Then Edward extended a hand, a silent invitation. Oliver knew deep down that if he took it, everything would change. Chapter 9. Crossing the Threshold. His grandmother's voice trembled. Oliver, don't do it! But Oliver had to know. Slowly, he reached out. Just as his fingers touched Edward's, a rush of wind exploded through the room. The walls blurred, the air crackled, time itself seemed to shatter. And then, everything went black. Chapter 10. The World That Wasn't His. When Oliver opened his eyes, he was standing outside an old schoolhouse, the same one from the photograph. Children in old-fashioned clothes ran past him. A bell rang in the distance. His hands trembled as he looked down. His reflection in the school window was no longer his. It was Edward's. A voice behind him. Welcome back. He turned. It was a teacher, looking at him as if he'd been there all along. Oliver's stomach dropped, because suddenly, he remembered. He remembered everything. The end, or the beginning? What happened to Oliver? Did he truly belong in the past? Was he ever supposed to exist in the present? And if so,
Who was the boy who found the photograph in the first place? Some mysteries are never meant to be solved, but one thing is certain. Time always finds a way to correct itself.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more thrilling English listening practice. See you in the next episode.